For well over 10 years, I was suffering from somewhat debilitating headaches. I tried everything, I saw a number of doctors, and then by surprise, I figured out a cure to these headaches. So in this video, first let's go over my headache history. I'll tell you the type of headaches I was having. I'll tell you the doctors that I went to and what they recommended, and I did get some relief from that. And then surprisingly, on my own, I figured out a cure to these headaches, and I'll talk about that in great detail towards the end of the video. Now, these headaches started about 12 years ago, and I would describe them as face headaches. They weren't a typical headache that you could just Google and say, oh, it's a migraine or it's a tension headache. These headaches were in my teeth, behind my nose, behind my eyes, and in my forehead, a lot of pressure, a lot of pain. So the first thing I did was went to my normal doctor. He referred me to a neurologist. I went for an MRI, which showed that my brain was normal. And the neurologist was a little confused. First, they thought it may be like a migraine headache. Then they thought it could have been a tension headache. But they really couldn't give me a conclusive diagnosis. They recommended some medicine that I tried that helped a little bit. They even said just take over-the-counter like Advil, Aleve, things like that, which helped a little bit as well. But these headaches were somewhat debilitating. They would come on in cycles. I would get them like every day for 2-3 weeks. Then they would disappear for a month. Then they would come back. And I lived with this for about 3 or 4 years. Then I went to see an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And he said to me, you know what, Mike, I think you're grinding your teeth at night, which is causing you that myofascia, like face pain. So what I'd like you to do is start wearing a retainer at night. So I went to the dentist, I had a retainer made, and I do think that helped a little bit, but I was still getting them and I was really upset about it. You know, it's very disorienting when you're having these headaches all the time. And then all of a sudden, on my own, I think I figured out a cure to these headaches. Now, if you follow me on YouTube, you know that I'm a fitness trainer. I've owned a gym for over 35 years, and I'm a big believer in walking. I walk just about every morning for about 30 minutes, and then I walk late in the afternoon for another 30 minutes. And then what I started doing after listening to a podcast from Andrew Huberman, Huberman Labs, my favorite podcast. He's a professor from Stanford, and he was recommending breathing through your nose breathing, and how nose breathing increases nitric oxide. See, nitric oxide is a molecule that the body produces that vasodilates. It's incredibly good for blood flow. It opens up everything. So what I started doing is that when I started doing these 30-minute walks in the morning, I would only breathe through my nose, in and out through my nose. The only negative part of that is that I like to smile and talk to people when I'm walking. But when I'm doing this nose breathing, I try to keep my mouth closed and only breathe through my nose. That's the only downside. And when I started doing that, I noticed two things. First of all, I felt that my sinuses were draining like crazy. My nose was running constantly. And I started doing this in the winter. So that's one thing telling me that I probably was draining my sinuses. Secondly, I felt like I just was getting incredibly good delivery of oxygen to my brain and to my entire body from this nose breathing. And at first it wasn't easy to do. I couldn't breathe through my nose the whole 30 minutes. I started with just 5-10 minutes. But now I find that if I get a headache and I go like on the treadmill or I go outside and take a walk and breathe through my nose, the headache goes completely away. I've been doing this for the past few months, and I haven't had one face headache since I started doing that. So this is what I would recommend to you. If you've seen a bunch of doctors, if you tried everything, first of all, if you know that there's nothing really wrong with you, you had an MRI, you know there's nothing wrong with your brain, there's nothing like seriously wrong with you. You have these like idiopathic type headaches, try the nasal breathing. If you don't have time to do these walks, just spend 5-10 minutes every day just breathing through your nose. There are so many health benefits to nose breathing. There's even some research that's saying that if you don't properly breathe through your nose, if you're like a mouth breather, it can change the structure of your teeth and your jaw, and you're gonna have problems later in life. Give it a try. I know what it feels like to have these debilitating headaches. I've had them for over 12 years, and now they are gone. Also, start walking every single day. If you wanna learn more about how to get started with a walking program, check out this video. Walking is probably the singular best thing you can do for your physical and mental health.